A very good morning wherever you're watching us from. This is Kirk in the morning. It is the 24th of August 2022, 3 days after a petition or petitions were filed in the Supreme Court just to ask questions on what happened in the election that were just concluded last week. We have a lot to talk about today, but before that, I want us to look at what is happening on our roads this morning. Yeah, looking on the roads this morning, I want us to look at just those that are leading to the CBD this morning. Want to look at the roundabouts, looking at Haile Selassie roundabout this morning. A little bit of traffic there going to the CBD, but things not so bad as well. We look at, another roundabout around Moy Avenue, busy, a little bit cloggy and snarling up, but not too bad as well, not far much stretching. We take a look on the roads now leading to the city. Mombasa Road looks good. I think it's because of the expressway, of course, looking good. Just a little bit of traffic around Nyayo, roundabout Nyayo Stadium, but things not bad. Mbagathi Way or Raila Odinga Road as well this morning, not looking bad, but just around Kenyatta Hospital, a little bit of traffic there, but basically going into the city, the roads are not bad either. But one thing that is important is if you want to arrive early, then you have to begin your journey early this morning. That is what is happening on the road this morning. We'll give you more update as far as they come. Yes, after traffic, we want to look at what is in the papers this morning. I have two dailies with me, but before then, let's get kitambulisho. Remember, you can weigh in our conversation this morning that I'm going to introduce later. But remember, our social media is KirkTV_KE on Twitter, KirkTV Kenya on Facebook, and on Instagram as well as our SMS numbers as you see them on your screens. Let's look on the papers this morning. I have the Daily Nation with me here. Page 1 or the top page of the Daily Nation, the smoking gun in Raila's petition in the Supreme Court. They're saying that at a glance, Raila is claiming that there were attempts to hack the system, saying that there are 56 hackers who try to gain access to the IEBC servers, and these compromised the results, saying that after the results were declared, of course, what they're saying is that there was a streaming of fake figures to the public portal. That is what he is raising about hacking. Turnout, he's saying that just how many people voted in the August presidential election, and the commission conceal 140,000 votes that could have changed the outcome of the vote. Again, what talks about vote inflation, talking about how his competitor, the president-elect, as we speak, William Ruto, his figures were inflated in regions that are purported to be his strongholds. Talking about the missing constituencies, the 27 constituencies that their results were not tallied. Talk about the hiding of evidence and verification of the tallying. That is what they're talking about in the Nation this morning, and that story continues, of course, to page 2, 3, and 4. Yeah, talking about the battle that we expect in the Supreme Court. I want us to look at page 6 where it said Gachagua, how he plotted Uhuru downfall in Mount Kenya region. They have done a story here talking about how the deputy president-elect, the Honorable Rigathi Gachagua, talking about how they plotted the downfall of Uhuru Kenyatta as the kingpin of Mount Kenya. If you want to get a gist of what that is, then catch The Nation this morning and you'll be okay. Page 8 of the same paper. The Ministry of Health denies swine flu outbreak. Remember that there were reports that there is a swine flu outbreak, talk about the H1N1 virus in Nakuru. But now the Ministry of Health, led by, of course, the director, Dr. Amoth, said that Nakuru did not inform the health ministry before making an announcement. So what he's saying is that the reports are not verified yet, so we cannot confirm that there is an outbreak as far as that virus H1N1 is concerned. That is what is in the Daily Nation this morning. What is written in the Standard, the top page of the Standard, inside Raila's evidence, of course talking about the affidavits that were been sworn, of course, and presented in the Supreme Court. Raila, my case in numbers: 140,028 votes missing, 0.01. It's not just a percentage, but the number of votes it represents. 49.999 correct percentage of votes DP Ruto should have been assigned. And 33,208 number of sample ballot papers in 8 counties, not given 6 papers. You know, this part of the evidence that Azimio la Umoja One Kenya coalition leader, that's Raila Odinga, and of course his running mate Martha Karua, presented to the Supreme Court. Stories continue in page 2 and page 3, where Raila Odinga has broken down the constituencies and the regions or counties that he feels votes were stolen and added to Ruto in that petition. He's saying that the counties of Bomet, Kiambu, Nyeri and Meru are the counties where his votes were stolen in favor of Deputy President William Ruto. That is what is written in page 1, 2, 3 of the Standard this morning. And of course there is also a story continued about the same on page 4 about IBC accused of changing forms 34A and 34B even before they were uploaded in the public portal. Your math is wrong. That's as far as the numbers of Chebukati are concerned. There is a university don here saying that the numbers that were presented by the chairman of the IEBC, Wafula Chebukati, don't add up. So this upon some of the stories I see this morning. The papers have dedicated a couple of pages to talk about the petition that were presented in court. The Standard has given it 7 consecutive pages, as well as The Nation this morning. So there's a lot of information about what is in the Supreme Court, and you can grab your copy this morning so that you get to inform yourself on what is happening. But there is a story in page 8 of the Standard where CS Magoha now wants caning back in school. Remember, he is been adamant that children should not be caned in school, but he is leaving office in the next few days. So his recommendation is that the caning should come back to school. Those are the papers of this morning. Grab your favorite copy and enjoy the reading. Yes, now we are done with the traffic update. We are done with the newspaper review for a moment. But I want us to look on a few updates before I introduce my guest in studio this morning. I want us to look at what has transpired yesterday, probably as far as the news are concerned. And one story we want to look at is still the supreme battle in court, because we understand it's already presented in court. petitions, to be precise, presented in court by individuals and bodies that are, disputing the announcing of Deputy President William Ruto as the president-elect. Those are the petition filed in court, of course, and we expect that as days go by, we are going to know more about the same. But we have a draft of the process that is going to happen, of course. We understand that yesterday was now the serving of the respondents, about the details of the petition by the petitioners. And the dates that we should really look up to is next week on Monday, because that will be a pre-trial conference will be held, and of course now after that then we will have around 7 days or so of activities in Supreme Court, one of them being now looking at how they are going to amalgamate the 8 petitions into one, because it's not possible for them to give, look at one petition and give a judgment, go to another. So they have to consolidate all the 8 petitions, and then now they begin the listening. But we expect on 5th of September, then that will be the date that we expect at least a verdict from the 7 judge bench of the Supreme Court. Now let's look at something else here, because yesterday Kivutha Kibwana joined Kenya Kwanza. Remember, Kivutha Kibwana, he tried to vie for the senatorial seat of Makueni County, but it was unsuccessful. He has been in the Azimio la Umoja coalition for a while, but yesterday Kivutha Kibwana joined Kenya Kwanza, led by President-elect William Ruto. Kivutha saying that he thought that is the best way to go, and he believed that he is going to be successful. But again, he was immediately drafted into the legal team of Kenya Kwanza that is going to face battle with Azimio la Umoja in court. Now, speaking to the media yesterday, the CS for Education, Professor George Magoha, said that schools in Kakamega and Mombasa counties will be closing on 29th of August 2022 and resume a day later of August 2022 to pave way for the upcoming pending general elections in the said counties. But remember, he said also that boarding schools will not be closed.
In Kakamega and Mombasa, and some parliamentary ones and MCA ones, but the ones that concern us in education mostly are the big ones in Kakamega and Mombasa. We have agreed, having consulted Mr. Chebukati and Mr. Hussein Marjan, that as far as the polling centers are concerned, we are happy to allow them to use our facilities in both primary and secondary schools. But we have also agreed that the tallying centers, which may require more than one day, we have agreed mutually that they should be taken to tertiary institutions, and the press release will be coming shortly to say so. In terms of our children, because we don't want them to miss any more time, we have also agreed as a government that the boarding schools shall not be closed, they will not be interfered with. Those that are polling centers, the children will remain in the boarding houses, in the fields and the libraries.
That is the CS for Education, Professor George Magoha, speaking on the pending or the upcoming by-elections, or do we call them by-election? I think they are, because the general elections are done, but remember they were postponed in counties of Kakamega, Mombasa, and of course a few other constituencies. We are due for a short break, but before that, I'm doing a disservice because they're already in studio here, my guest this morning. For my far right there, of course, is a colleague in the media, Musa Salah, but he is not Mohammed Salah.
Good morning, Vincent.
Yes, good morning.
Thank you for having me.
Karibu sana. And of course, in my near right is Dr. Kibunja. No, yes. It's not Dr. Kibunja. It's Dennis Kibunja. Yes, he's a politician and a businessman.
Okay, thank you. Yeah. Pleasure being here.
Before we take a break, I want you to give me what you think of the term of C.S. Magoha in the education docket, because probably, he said yesterday could have been his last public engagement. Yes, to begin with you, Kibunja.
To begin with me, yeah. You know, what I can say with Magoha, the guy has done really a good job. So what I'm hoping is the next government will give him a role, because the guy is very competent in what he does. So I'm just hoping we just need to implement some few things which he has did, and he'll be good to go. The guy is a good man.
I don't agree with my friend here. I think Professor Magoha is one of those leaders who, when given power, get drunk, and those leaders who think that they are above all. So I think in terms of doing his mandate as a CS, he's done that. We are not supposed to congratulate him or commend him for that, because he's doing his job. But otherwise, I think he should be given a position, because he's proven himself in terms of going to the schools. Remember, he said his life changed when he went into Mathare slums, going to those schools and so on and so forth. So I think he should be part of President-elect William Ruto's government. But he should, of course, check how he engages with the public.
Comparing him with his predecessor, Kaimenyi, you remember?
Yes.
How do you rate the two?
I think,
although Kaimenyi was short.
Exactly. I think where Professor Magoha has outdone his predecessors is where he's moved out of Jogoo House, went to visit all those schools, because remember, these CSs have budgets, and of course, if you don't use that budget, it means it's going somewhere it's not supposed to be. So Professor Magoha has proven himself in terms of going into those rural schools, engaging with the kids, and of course relating with the environment where those kids are, because if you operate from Jogoo House and you don't visit those schools, dilapidated schools, then I don't think you'd be able to implement the policies that you should have.
Yes, those are my guests in studio. I just wanted to give them a moment to have their voice set so that we can come back. But we are going for a short break. When we come back, now we'll delve deeper into our conversation this morning, talk about the political tide of the Uchaguzi 2022, and of course the role of the media. How did the media report the general elections that just concluded a week or so ago? Don't go away, coming shortly.
The second term of the Jubilee administration birthed the introduction of the competency-based curriculum. 5 years on, construction of CBC classes across the country is still ongoing, with parents raising questions on the soundness of the CBC.
The demands that the teachers are making, they are so exaggerated. Kama wanafunzi wanaambiwa walete vitu zenye hata wazazi hawawezi afford, wengine hawawezi afford. Alafu wazazi wengine hawezi pata hizo vitu kwa urahisi.
Ideologically it makes sense. Practicality, I believe we should give it time.
As the grade 6 students pioneer the transition to junior high school next year, we seek to understand the appropriateness of the competency-based curriculum. And 5 years on, is the education sector, together with its stakeholders, equipped for this? Tune into Kirk TV as we bring you the CBC Dialogue.
The great people on earth today are the people who pray. Not those who talk about prayer or those who explain about prayer, but those who take time and pray.
God answers prayers. Why? Because He hears. His ear is not deaf. so he hears our prayers.
Men and women who go before God, we should be men and women of godly standards.
Sure.
So we abide.
Yeah.
So that we keep tapping from the source.
And as we pray, it is important to tell God that your will be done in this prayer that I'm praying, or about this prayer item that I'm praying about. Not as I will, yes, this is my will, but let your will be done.
In these changing times and seasons of uncertainty, whom do you look up to?
God keeps his part. Calm rain, calm sunshine. God is still committed.
From one generation to another, and it's not like shifting shadows that he will change, but
Join Reverend Elizabeth Kimani and Henry Kyra every Wednesday from 8 to 9 p.m. live on Kirk TV for Call Unto Me.
2021, he's still the same God and he has not changed.
We welcome your feedback on our programming. For questions or comments, kindly get in touch with us via email info@kirktv.org, SMS 011120044, or call us on 0794 588 054.
Welcome back. Karibu sana ndani ya kipindi cha Kirk in the morning. My guest in studio wamesema kwamba wangependa sana kuzungumza Kiswahili na ningependa kuwapatia nafasi hiyo ya kuzungumza Kiswahili. Remember, you are allowed to do that. You can also weigh in on a conversation this morning. We are talking about the political tides in uchaguzi 2022 and of course the role of the media. How did we as the media report? You can also tell us and make us understand how did you rate our job in, of course, the just concluded election. But remember, we are not done with the season because there are petitions in court, and of course there are other by-elections that will be conducted in the next 1 week or so. Now, karibu sana. Kibunja, acha nianze na wewe kwa sababu umesema kwamba ungependa kuzungumza Kiswahili, manake ndio lugha inaeleweka na wengi na tunataka kuwafikia wengi. Mahali ulikotoka, wewe ulikuwa mwanasiasa na ni mmoja wa wale ambao waligombea katika ama wadhifa mmoja katika uchaguzi huu ambao umekamilika. Uligombea ama wadhifa upi kwanza, alafu kutoka hapo tuelezee experience yako ilikuwa namna gani katika safari nzima?
Asante sana Bwana Vincent. Kitu moja kabla nianze, ningependa kuambia watu siasa si rahisi. Na kitu moja na siasa, vijana wakiona wanasiasa kitu ya kwanza wanafikiria naingia pale niende kukula. Juu wengi, unajua nimeangalia manifesto za watu wengi wale vijana walikuwa insha viti za MCA. Unapata wengi hata wana manifesto. Wanakuambia sijui ndajenga level 5 hospital, huu ni MCA anasema hivyo, ndapeana jobs, hata ajui jobs na provideo. Yaani hakuna kitu anajua. Ni vijana wanaingia kwa siasa. So the reason why nilikuwa nataka kuingia kwa siasa, niliona vijana wengi hawaelewi role zao. Tuko information age, wanarika hawajui rights zao, hawajui county government nafaa kuwafanyia nini, na bado wanataka iperform. So nikasema mimi kama mwanarika, wacha niingie kwenye siasa. Na nikaingia, na kitu naweza ambia watu, siasa si rahisi. But kitu moja,
kwa nini unasema hivyo? Maana
siasa si rahisi sababu vijana unapata uko na pesa zako, umejaribu kufanya kitu, either umefanya kabiashara ama uko job. You know one thing, kuna post zingine lazima uresign ndo uitishe kiti ya siasa. Unapata ulipata ka job yenye umetake time ndo uipate, si ndio? Alafu unakuja una resign ndo uombe hii kiti. Note, mali tulikuwa tunagombea tulikuwa 215. Wanarika walikuwa kama 8. So ilikuwa inamaanisha hata mwanarika mmoja akipita 7 wataanguka.
Hapo ni wapi?
hapa ni Mlolongo. Kuna wale walikuwa wamejipanga vizuri, unapata huyu mtu najua niko na 5 million, natumia tu 1 million. Kuna ule anaingia, ushaona ile unaingia kwa swimming pool na hujui kuogelea. What will happen? You will drown. Currently as we speak, kuna wenye wame drown seriously. But I thank God, mimi nilikuwa na experience from my friends. So mimi niliingia nikijua it's not a matter of life and death. I tried my best. And I'm sure, you know one thing I realized with politics, not all about life and death. So I'm sure by 2027, I'll come stronger juu nimelearn. Yeah. So everything will come a learning process. I'm sure in 2027, nitakuwa salama. Yes.
Ni lesson gani ambayo unasema umejifunza katika kugombea wadhifa wa UMCA katika uchaguzi uliopita? Ni somo lipi ambalo unasema kabisa umejifunza kutokana na safari yako hiyo wakati huu, ili kwamba mwaka 2022 ukue bora zaidi?
Kitu nimejifunza kwanza, siasa ya Kenya ni siasa za chama. Siasa ya Kenya ni siasa za chama. Kama mimi nilikuwa naangalia pia kura na nikajua kitu moja. Watu walikuwa nakuja tu walikuwa napiga. Kuna the common chamas, watu walikuwa najua Mlolongo, kulikuwa na UDA. Wiper ndio ilikuwa common juu Wakamba ni wengi, alafu ODM. Mtu alikuwa anakuja hata kama ajui kitu chochote, anapiga either Wiper, ODM ama UDA. Unapata mimi
bila kujali nani.
Mimi ni independent, nime-campaign 10 times better than my good friend. But my friend juu akona ticket ya UDA, anapata kura 4,000 na mimi napata kura 1,000 juu niko independent. So kitu moja nimeamua 2027 na kujaribu vile niwezavyo ni kuwe na chama. Kitu kingine nimejifunza, hii kuambiwa mheshimiwa ndio uko kwa ground. Hiyo ni kitu kusahau kabisa. Hapa Nairobi, siasa Nairobi si siasa kama ushago, mahali utasikia mtu alikampaign bila pesa akapita, ama mtu alikampaign na punda, tumeona wengine wakampaign na punda with nothing na wakapita. Hapa Nairobi huwezi. Lazima utumie pesa. Mfuko lazima. Na that's why unaona wanarika wengi hizi viti atupati juu mimi nikienda ni pesa mahali kama 10 million ama 20 million nikuje nipe watu watanichagua. What will happen?
Utaenda kuiba ndio.
Utaenda kuiba juu kuna rafiki, si rafiki. Tuseme juu tulikuwa kwa debe pamoja ni rafiki. Sitamtaja jina, ametumia almost 20 million. MCA anafaa kulipwa pesa ngapi kwa mwezi? Ukiweka yote inakuja, ukiweka mpaka hizo allowances zote inakuja kama 300,000. So ukitumia 18 million in 1 year 300,000 ni 3.6 million. Inamaanisha ata take 5 years kurecover hiyo pesa ametumia. So inamaanisha huyo mtu akiingia hapo ataenda kuiba. Na that's why na vijana wadogo kama sisi tunajaribu kuingia juu tuko na hiyo aja leadership ndo tuweke mikakati nzuri.
Bila shaka. Bwana Musa Sala, tumefuatilia sana chaguzi nyingi katika taifa la Kenya, na wewe ni mwanahabari, umefuatilia chaguzi nyingi katika taifa la Kenya. Sijui kama unataka kuzungumza Kiswahili pia na utasema tu, kama unataka kuzungumza Kizungu utajibu kwa Kizungu. Lakini ni kipi kile ambacho umeona uchaguzi wa mwaka 2022 ni tofauti na uchaguzi uliopita wa miaka 5 iliyopita kulingana na wewe?
Before answering that question, let me just go back to what he said in terms of politics being about parties.
Yes.
I'd like to disagree with that because since in this particular election, we've seen, especially where I come from, when you go to Northeastern, you would see, you saw former Mandera governor, Ali Roba, with his party, United Democratic Movement, getting all the slots in Mandera County, meaning he was able to topple some of the most well-known, well-established parties, including Jubilee, ODM, and of course United Democratic Alliance. But there's been the issue of now independent candidates. I wouldn't advise youths to go the independent way because when you look at being independent, he said you won't get a lot of votes. And of course he said people who come from particular parties will tend to get more votes. For one, a reason could be that a party supports its candidate in terms of financing. So you are a youth, of course, una struggle already, and so you can't get more than, the most you can raise about 1 million shillings. But the party gives you around 2 million, 2.5, depending 5 million, depending on your area, and of course your contributions to the party. So of course, huwezi sema ati I'll spend 0 and kuna mtu ana spend about 5 million shillings in his campaigns, and you expect to get the same outcome.
Yeah.
Coming back to your question, what has been different in this election? For one, we must congratulate ourselves in the sense that for the first time in Kenya, we've not lost a soul to electoral violence. Of course, we've had issues, of course, with wanasema squeezy working for IBC has become an extreme sport.
It is.
But we've not lost a Kenyan, a normal civilian, not a public servant, to electoral violence. And that is because, for some reason, I think I can attribute that to the pandemic, and of course the anxiety Kenyans had in the days leading to the election.
The cost of living as well.
Exactly. And so everybody's now like, let's get done with these elections as fast as we can so that we can go back to our normal lives.
Yeah.
But then the other reason is our politicians have matured in terms of their conversations surrounding their manifestos and so on. If you compare this election and the previous election, 2017, 2013, and of course 2007, you'd realize that the conversations have shifted and have come towards policies and what the politicians will do for the Mwananchi. So it's no longer about, because in 2007, we, the media, messed up the country. We must take that responsibility in the sense that media were preaching violence and, of course, ethnicity. In 2007, and now this is a conversation that, of course, I think we're going to be having. In 2017, the media concentrated so much on I think, peace, preaching peace, because we had just come from 2007, and so the media were trying to preach that unity and, of course, being Kenyan and so on and so forth, that we lost track of the electoral process. And I think that is what happened in this general election, because we were so much focused on the tallying and the results, on who is going to succeed, the deep state and so on and so forth, that we lost track of the electoral process. And that is why now we're having this push and pull of the Supreme Court battle and so on and so forth. So I think for the first time in Kenya, we must congratulate ourselves. I think, and of course, we must congratulate the media in terms of doing its job right.
Yeah. I come to you and talk about the media in civic education, because how is it not just reporting what is happening, but again, we have to educate. And I don't know if you feel we did that good enough before the election themselves, but we come back to you. But I want to return to Mheshimiwa, ama hilo jina lilitoka.
Dennis Kimunja.
Limeisha.
Hiyo jina naomba tuiisha for the next 5 years mpaka 2027.
Haya basi. Acha tuzungumze na Bwana Dennis Kibunja. Tuelezee basi, umesema kwamba ulichoona kwamba siasa ni za pesa sana katika taifa la Kenya, haswa Nairobi. Umesema kwamba ni pesa ndio inazungumza. Wadhani mbali na wananchi kutaka pesa, ni viongozi ambao ama wale wanasiasa ama wale wagombea ambao wanataka kugombea nyadhifa mbalimbali, wao ndio wamewafunza wananchi pesa? Manake sidhani kama mwananchi tu anakwenda mara moja amechukua anataka pesa, anataka kwanza kusikiliza unasema nini. Lakini kuna wale ulivyosema hawajui hata wanataka kufanya nini, lakini wako na mfuko uliojaa. Kwa hivyo sasa njia yao pekee ya kufika kule ni kufungua mifuko. Wadhani kwamba ni wanasiasa ndio wamewafunza Wakenya hivyo?
Asante sana Bwana Vincent. Unajua kitu moja naweza sema na wanarika, from where we come from. The reason why naongea na Kiswahili juu tumezoea kuongea Kiswahili huko, na nataka lugha kila mtu anaweza connect. Juu nikiongea na I feel from inside. Now, hao ni wanarika. Tumelelewa Mlolongo, tumesomea Mlolongo, tukajaribu tukaenda, wengine wakaenda campus. Wengine kama sisi wenye tu kuweza kuendelea huko juu, tukajaribu kufanya 1-2, tukapata at least kakitu. Now out of 10 youths utapata 9 jobless kwa pool table, wanaro mtaa wana kitu ya kufanya, si ndio? Now huyo mwanarika wanasiasa tumekuwa tukiwaona for the last, tuseme 2013 we voted, 2017 tukavote. Watu tumekuwa tukiwapigia kura, si ndio? Tulipigia MCA 2013. Wanarika tulimsupport juu tulikuwa tunajua tutapewa kazi. After tumemchagua aliweka watu wazee kwa hiyo ofisi. So notion yetu 2017 tulikoshajua wanasiasa kazi yetu ni kuwapigia. Ule tulimkampenia kama ana ini. Unaona? Akapotea. 2017 tulikuwa na ile notion hao watu hata tukiwapigia kura kazi yao ni kuchagua wazee, alafu wanafanya nini? So watupee tusitue tuende. Unaona? 2017 mwenye alikuja na pesa. Akatupea pesa. Now, sasa tumejipata kwa the same pot yenye tulikuwa tunapika watu nayo. Juu saa mimi nikijaribu kuitisha kiti, hao wanarika wenye tumegrow na hao pia wanataka pesa yenye sina. Juu nikiwa na 2 million ama nikiwa na 1 million, hii pesa sitaweka kwa campaign. Kumbuka niko na bills zangu za kulipa, nataka kuinvest kwa kitu, at least niko na kitu in the next 3 to 4. Juu sasa tuko na familia dogo, unaona? So naweza sema kuwa jobless na wanarika pia kuwa idle sana. Juu watu wengi wametoka ghetto, wengi kuwa idle na uwezi walaumu from mahali wamelelewa. Unaona? Tuko jobless, tuko watumia. Tukiambiwa kuna mtu anatoa punch, anatoa form ya punch 500, sisi tutaenda hapo. And that's why wanasiasa pia washajua mimi nikikuja kuitisha kiti hapa mahali tuko ni kwa Jalango kama MP. Ukisikiza Jalango anasema alitumia kama 40 million. Na alikuwa very categorical, bila pesa ange survive. Kumbuka ule ni influencer anajulikana, si ndio? Ule mtu ako na chama inajulikana ODM. So that's why my good friend amesema ata disagree na mimi, but nataka kumwambia kitu moja, nikiitisha kiti kwetu ushago. Kumbuka kwetu ushago kila mtu, hata uko jua kando ya njia utapata watu 200 wanajua. Juu kila mtu anajua kila mtu. Kumbuka Nairobi kuna Mkamba, kuna Muslim, tuseme Woria ametoka huko somewhere northeastern, si ndio? Kuna Mluya, kuna Mborana, kuna Masai, watu wajuani sana. In fact hata campaign aufikiagi 50% of the people in Nairobi. But ushago nahitaji kusema Musa ana campaign. Hiyo message ifikie watu kama 100. Unapata ushago mtu anabishana kura 300. That's why hapa Nairobi ndo ujulikane, lazima uwe na chama na lazima angalia tu Nairobi watu wangapi wamepita na independent. Na uende huko ushago unapata mtu alisimama tu hakupewa chama juana doju ajulikani, but amejaribu independent akapita. Why? Juu everybody anajua everybody hapo kwa hiyo village.
Bila shaka. Na wadhani basi suluhu ni gani? Manake umesema kwamba Wakenya ni kama wame evolve wakijua kwamba pesa ndo kila kitu sasa, kulingana na vile wanasiasa walijibeba tangu mwanzo. Nimesema kwamba anaingia kule afanye chochote. Kwa hivyo ukija leo mimi nakwambia sawa, kwa sababu najua miaka 5 ijayo sitaona chochote kutoka kwako, nipatie sasa. Lakini sasa unaona zile shilingi 50, 100, 200 ambazo wanasiasa wanapeana kule zinatosha kweli?
To add on that, wanarika pia wamejanjaruka. Juu rafiki mwenye najua alitumia pesa. Nasema rafiki juu tulikuwa kwa debe pamoja, si eti rafiki yangu pase. Alitumia pesa mingi sana. And so walikuwa wanasema tukule kwao, basi tunajua mwenye tutachagua. Mwenye tulichagua kama MCA, wenye walichagua juu mimi sikumchagua. Unajua singekosa kujipigia kura. Wenye alichaguliwa ni huyu sasa ni my good friend, tumejuana for almost 10 years. Niko sure kutumia 3 million. But mwenye alianguka kwa alikuja top 4 alitumia like 18 million. So unaweza sema sasa tumejua tunaweza kula lakini usiwapigie kura. Yes.
Naam, wacha nikulete ndani mwenzangu Sala tuzungumzie hilo swala. Manake as the media we have a role now, as you get how he's saying, and what he's saying is that Kenyans now see politicians as a source of money, not as a person who is going to, go there and deliver on their mandate. We have a role to play in that, and that's educating the mwananchi on what really politics and elective positions are. Do you think we've done that enough this time around?
I don't think, you see, the job of, and of course I think we'll also talk about this, because when I've covered politicians, and when you are a journalist and you are attached, they call them the Sky team of, let's say, politician X. You become part and parcel of that politician's manifesto, meaning you'll attend his rallies, you'll talk about his manifestos and so on and so forth. And now people confuse that with being, you becoming a supporter of that politician. But for us to change that mindset, I don't think we've played that role, because when you're attached to the Sky team of politician X, you're supposed to now, if, for example, I go to Mlolongo and I'm attached to Mheshimiwa here, I go there, listen to his, of course, atasema, I'll build roads, I'll build hospitals. But you see, whatever he may be saying, his policies could not be the needs of the people of Mlolongo. So as a journalist, I should be able to talk to the people of Mlolongo and say, what do you need the most? And compare now their needs with the policies of Mheshimiwa or the manifesto of Mheshimiwa. I think that is where we failed as the of course, media fraternity. But I think earlier on you asked a question about training journalists and so on and so forth. I think this time round in this 2022 general election, the Media Council of Kenya has tried to train journalists, especially in the days leading to August 9th, and other organizations such as the VOA, Voice of America, have come in to also support Kenyan scribes supporting, of course, covering the 2022 general election. But going forward, I think it's important to train journalists in terms of computing or rather tallying election results, because I almost say that sisi ni mitume, lakini most of the time tunapigwa na hata wengine kuuawa because of the work they do. And so we must ensure that, first of all, we must ensure that journalists are well paid, because in all the big four media houses in Kenya do not make more than 1 billion shillings in terms of revenue every year. So it would be hard for such a media house to take its own, to do its own independent tallying of election results. If IEBC spent 44.6 billion shillings in its budget to plan for this general election, and assuming that they spent half of that, which is about 20 billion, then you can't say that a media house that is making less than 1 billion should do its own tallying. I think we must be able to, media managers, media owners must get serious to the point where, because the end result is we all want to make sure that the viewer, because that is our boss as journalists, we must be able to ensure that our bosses back at home get everything that is happening in the country verified and factual, right at the comfort of their living rooms. And for that to happen, I think going forward, because every election is a learning experience for those of us in the media, we must ensure that, because our end goal is the same, whether it's Citizen, whether it's Kirk, whether it's NTV, KTN, our end game is the same. We all want to inform the viewer back at home. So we must have a joint kind of tallying where, like we always have joint productions, we must have joint tallying in order to verify this information. Because this year the challenge we had was, of course, what is in the papers today, the issue of course, manipulating the Form 34As. So if we have a joint tallying, then we can be able to, of course, overcome such challenges.
And talking about the tallying and giving out figures, this time round IEBC allowed the media to do that. But again, if you saw the kind of reporting each media house was reporting, was kind of you could not compare. They were not in tandem, and this is because, as you said, resources and all that. You think going forward we need to put aside these who is a big fish and a smaller one in this field, and work together for the people, for the good of the people? And who is going to lead this? Is it us, the media, or we need support from the stakeholders? Talk about the government. Even IEBC itself should have actually given access and told us, come to Bomas, we have a joint an office or a table where now every journalist from every media house will sit, and we give you figures that now you're going to project directly to your media house.
We can't always throw stones at IEBC, because we are the media stakeholder, we are the main actors in the media industry. If, for example, your media manager cannot, of course, reach out to IEBC and say, hey, we want our reporters to be in that National Tallying Center. Of course, there were reporters there, but it was now the job of the media managers, because as a reporter, as a political reporter, I can't go to, the commissioners and tell them, I want to sit here. It's for us to sit down together, communicate to IEBC and tell them, just like the way they communicated and gave most journalists accreditation to attend Bomas of Kenya during the national tallying. So it's for us to sit down, because most of the time we have a lot of sibling rivalry here and there. This is the best, this is the number last, and so on. But we have to put that aside in the interest of Mwananchi, who is always watching and of course switching channels.
Ebo zungumzia uanabari na vile tulivyofanya kazi wakati huu. Pia wewe manake ulikuwepo, uliona tukireport na kufanya kazi yetu. Unasema tulifanya kazi vizuri ama tuliboronga ama namna gani?
Naweza sema media they tried their best, lakini ile kitu kuna place hapo kutupeleka poa. From the word go, tallying ilikuwa inaendelea poa sana. Wamekuwa report kila kitu vizuri. Tallying ilikuwa inaendelea poa sana. Ikafika 6 million for Raila, 6 million for Ruto, na ikasimama. Why it stopped, we don't know. Now, kumbuka miscommunication. Ina flowigi sana. 90% wala watu vote hawajuangi rights zao, hajui hata member of county assembly anafaa kufanya nini. So huyu mtu akisikia hii kitu waliacha kutali vile Ruto alipita baba ama vile baba aliendelea kulead, hiyo ndio ile information nafikaga huko. So kazi ya media kindly, from the reports zenye tumekuwa tukipata, hata uliona media wakisema wamekuwa kikava nini za baba like 60 something percent, za Ruto 30 something percent. Hiyo biasness ndio sisi kama wa Kenya hatuhitaji.
But si kweli. Hapa kwetu sisi tulikuwa
that one was KTV. That one was KTN, Citizen and NTV.
Yes,
it was gazetted.
We won't mention their names.
Yes, sorry to mention names. But ilikuwa kwa gazeti na hiyo ni information tuko nayo. Sorry to say that, but ni information tuko nayo na ilifikia kila mtu. So for media, naomba tu kazi yao ni kutupea ujumbe, si kuwa hii side ama kuwa hii side, si kuwa side ya Vincent, side hata Vincent akikosea, juu tumeona, I not mention names, but tumeona kwa zingine, juu sahi nimejua sifai ku mention names, kwa kitu mbaya kihappen kwa huyu candidate, inapewa like 10 minutes kwa TV station, si ndio? Kitu mbaya kihappen kwa huyu, haipewi time. Tumeona wengine pia juu tunaona taarifa. Mwingine anapewa 10 minutes coverage, mwingine anapewa 3 minutes. Na wote wanaitisha president. Unaona? Hiyo ndio kitu tunahitaji kwa media.
Bwana Sala, wacha nikulete hapa ndani. Wadhani kwamba anasema ukweli that we were not neutral enough in our reporting this time around?
I'll take you back to a statement I made earlier on, that we need to pay our journalists equal to what they do. Because the newsroom today as it is has been compromised, just like Form 34s were compromised and so on. In the sense that he said a particular candidate will be covered more. This boils down to the gatekeepers, because as a reporter, I may have because I'm a normal human being, just like any other. I may have attachments to candidate X, but my editor should, as the gatekeeper, final gatekeeper, should be able to say, hey, this is 4 minutes, but we must make sure. Because I remember when I was in the newsroom, we used to compare political stories. If journalist Y was covering Odinga and journalist X was covering Ruto, we used to make sure that the minutes in terms of the stories used to be the same. At least they can never be the same, but at least the same length in terms of doing the reports. And that boils down to now paying journalists, because if I know a reporter right now who is getting 20,000 shillings, and this is a person who needs to feed his family, pay rent, pay for transport and so on, eat, take care of his wife and kids, but has to manage 20,000 shillings. So for that, and this is where the being compromised comes in, because as a mheshimiwa here, I'm sure he's ever talked to a journalist somewhere and akamwambia, hey bro, nitakuandikia story. So you see, nikichukua hiyo pesa, of course I'll be obliged to of course put him in the right way. And kama ningelipwa vizuri as that reporter, then I wouldn't have had the need to, of course, go to this mheshimiwa, get something small from him, and of course giving him that length of stories that I've done. So it all boils down to resources of media houses. And I think some media houses, which I'll not mention, did a good job in terms of outsourcing talents that tried to tally the results on their own. And he said kulikuwa na some differences. One, because every media house was downloading their own forms.
Yeah, sure.
For example, Kirk was downloading Nairobi and let's say Makueni. Another station was downloading from Wajir and Kilifi.
Yeah.
And so the results could not be the same. But it reached a point that they realized, hey, wait, these things are changing. The forms that we downloaded are not the same that are the ones that are there.
Yes.
Because you realize that now the Form 34A is being changed and so on, being hacked. You've read that in the dailies, which I think Azimio has some sort of a weight on in their petition, but I think, of course, as always, the burden of proof lies with them. Yeah. But IEBC, I think, has to, because their reports, KPMG report that said there were 12, foreigners who participated in that election, in terms of people hacking and so on. Yeah. Out of that, there were 21. Out of that, only 2 are Kenyans, meaning this election was planned for a long time ago in terms of feeding and taking care of those 21 people. Yeah. So I think, as the media, we've tried our best, but of course there are always some loopholes that we have to learn from.
You have to seal as well. My director is really on my neck telling me we don't have time, but I believe she will give me at least 5 minutes so that we can conclude this. Bwana Mheshimiwa, hilo jina tuliweke kando. Bwana Dennis. Lakini unajua ukishaitwa mheshimiwa ni hivyo, hata ukipatana na wale ambao hawakupigia watakuita tu. Na wakati mwingine ni heshima, lakini sasa hii heshima lazima uprove you're worthy the name. Yes. Now, what do you think can be done to ensure that politics in Kenya are not as expensive as they seem to be now, and the people get to understand that a leader doesn't have to give you a handout for you to give them their vote and for them to deliver on their mandate, because you are mwananchi ndio mwajiri, ende anakupigia kura, ende anakuajiri. What do you think needs to be done from the side of politicians themselves? Manake they play a role in this one. A major one as such.
For us, as waheshimiwa wenye naomba kura, I think hakuna much you can do, because we are just a normal Kenyan wanaamua kujitosa kwa uwanja waitishe kiti. So one thing naweza sema, civic education tusaidia sana, upate mtu anajua rights zake. But one thing I know with civic education, na everything about election, ukijaribu kufunza watu wako broke, watu wako jobless, inakuwa ngumu. Narudi kwa ile point yangu. Bwana Vincent anaisha kiti ya ubunge, si ndio? Sisi tuko jobless. Na kumbuka wale watu wengi upiga siasa. Wao watu wakienda kampeni wanaendaga wapi? Ushaona campaign Karen? Mungu amenijalia nimeishi Mlolongo ghetto na nimeishi Syokimau. They don't campaign in Syokimau. Wanaendaga kwa wale watu wanaweza manipulate. Nikiambiwa ndakupea kazi, hata ulizi hiyo kazi itakaaje juu politician anaongeaga ile kitu anataka mwananchi asikie. Uwezi manipulate mtu anaishi hapa South Sea. Uwezi manipulate mtu anaishi kwake. Uwezi manipulate mtu anajua right zake. That's why for most Kenyans, which is 90%, it will be hard, but serikali ikijaribu at least empower youths through projects, through upate youth unapata kazi, utapata umse at least akona kakitu juu. Out of my friends wenye nimekuwa nao sahi, at least 5 out of 10 uwezi mdanganya na 500. But unaona bado kuna 5 bado. Inamaanisha ni 50%. So nimesema wanarika wanaendelea kubadilika na wamejua tukipewa pesa tutakula, basi lazima tupige kura hapo. Of which ni kitu ita take time kubadilika. Serikali ndio inaweza saidia. silaumu serikali sana, but iko na a very big part to play kuempower youth kwanza. Youth na wamama ndo wanakuwa vulnerable. Kumbuka, juu unapata sema naishi Imara, si ndio? Hapo kuna ghetto. Watu wenda campaign hapo ghetto, naambia si tutawapea kazi, tutawapa hapa ghetto, tutawekea maji. Then after 5 years wanapotea. So the reason why nakwambia hii itakuwa ngumu ni watu wamezoea promises za uongo. That's why unaona hata tuamini wanasiasa.
Msasala, what role do we have to play in this, in ensuring that elections in Kenya don't become just a season of, hula baloo, a season of, opening the purse strings and giving out money and then going to a looting spree for you to, make sure that you return what you gave out? What does the media have to do in this, and what can we do better going forward? Because now we have 5 years to prepare for another election. The media inakuja in too late, into maybe a year or two into elections. What can we do?
First, my friend here has said about trainings and of course public sensitization and so on and so forth. I think that should come later. I think the main role of the media is to hold leaders accountable. Basically, for example, I always say that free education by late former President Mwai Kibaki was Kenya's biggest milestone ever. And the subsequent governments that followed, that was led, of course, by His Excellency President Uhuru Kenyatta, failed in ensuring that those people who benefited from free education, those who finished Form 4, those who finished university, now they fail to answer the question, how do they transit now from being students into the workforce? And so they failed in creating jobs. I think as the media, we must hold our leaders accountable in terms of course, President-elected William Ruto said that he's going to create jobs for the youth. Lisema kazi ni kazi. But, of course, the youth need jobs. So going forward, of course, after the Supreme Court ruling, we must now sit down and say, hey, Mheshimiwa, you said you're going to create jobs, this amount of jobs. Remember, in 2013 and 2017, together with President Uhuru Kenyatta, they said we are going to create, I think, a million jobs in 6 months, and so on and so forth. That has become a joke. So going forward, we need to sit down with the President-elect, tell him, Mheshimiwa, you've said you're going to create this amount of jobs. How long have we come? How much have we achieved as a country? How many youths? Because as you see, going forward, President Uhuru Kenyatta is exiting the stage, and current President-elect, as current things stand, is 56. He's quite young, so he needs to train other youthful leaders to make sure that 10, 20 years from now, they are going to succeed and, of course, continue with the work he has done as the president.
Yes, because we have to conclude. I know it's a conversation that is vast, and we might not be able to, compress it into a little time that we have. But I want us to conclude by giving our say on what we think is the case in court as far as the election is concerned, because if we don't do that, pia tutakuwa tumefanya vizuri. Unadhani kesi iliyoko mahakamani, maana uchaguzi ulifanyika, tukachagua, Wakenya wakapiga kura, kukatangazwa mshindi ambaye ni William Ruto, ni rais mteule. Lakini upande wa Azimio la Umoja na pamoja na wengine wengi sana, maana yake tuna petitions kama 8 ambazo zipo kotini sasa hivi, mahakama ya juu, wakaenda kupinga uamuzi huo. Wadhani waonaje mwisho wa kesi hii?
For me, let me start with vile kura zilipigwa. Nilikuwa nafuata kila kitu. Now what I know, hii kura kuiba ikuwa rahisi. Watu wanashare ni propaganda. At least tuna live kwa information age. Juu nikiangalia, nilikuwa Mlolongo Syokimau polling station number 4. Now, returning officer kama president amepigiwa 200 votes, ndo zinakuwa tallied, zinakuwa transferred direct kwa IBC, ndo zinasomwa. Sawa? Point number 1. Tukienda point number 2,
kwa upesi manake.
Let me just be fast. Tukiangalia pia, let me come to Cherara. Cherara alisema story ya 0.01. I'll not comment on that. 0.01% yezi kuwa 0.01. Hiyo ni kitu moja nafaa kujua. Now, Tukiangalia pia Cherara, kuna time alikuwa nasoma, kuna vitu mingi ungebadilisha. Kumbuka pale Bomas ilikuwa talent center, haikuwa place ya kubadilisha results. Si ndio? Nimepitia the petition ya Azimio from petition number 54 to almost 62. Wanaongea about the Venezuelans wenye walikuja. From there, from 62 to almost 70, wanaongelea mtu alipatwa na laptop. So naweza sema mingi ni hearsays na propaganda mingi kwa nini yao kwa petition. So for me I think hakuna kesi.
Hakuna kesi.
Hakuna kesi.
Bwana Sala, tukimalizia tu, wewe unasemaje about the petition in court? How do you see it?
I think there is a case, but of course the burden of proof lies with Azimio. But remember, I think this case will be determined by numbers. It's no longer about the system, it's no longer about so on and so forth. But remember, one petitioner, Khalif, depending, of course, citing the KPMG report, said that the IEBC systems were very weak. And now that opens another discussion on, of course, the manipulation and so on and so forth. But numbers in terms of voter turnout and, of course, the number of voters, actual voters that were tallied in terms of how much Ruto got. Remember, there is this whole story about he didn't achieve the 50% plus one and so on and so forth. So I think Azimio, all in all, is trying to push for a runoff. But I think I don't think we have the time to go for another election as it is.
Yes, yes. That is it. I want us to conclude there, and I will invite you guys at some other time so that we talk about other issues that I feel that we haven't covered today because of time. But I want to take this time to thank you, my good friend Musa Sala, a communication strategist, of course, in the media for a long time and covered elections. Thank you for your insights. And of course, mheshimiwa ambaye hilo jina utalitoa tu, Dennis Kibunja, ambaye ni mwanasiasa vile vile mfanya biashara. Biashara yako ni gani? Usitaje jina, lakini biashara yako ni ya kufanya nini?
Biashara zetu
sema tu hustler.
Tunafanya biashara online.
Hao ni wale wa kufanya biashara online, mtazamaji. All right, I want us to take a short break because we are coming back to look at the Supreme Court battle with my guest already in studio, an advocate of the High Court, and of course, she's a partaker of this particular petition in court. Thank you very much once again, gentlemen, and have a good day. I'll invite you some other time. We delve deeper into the issues that we might have left hanging today. So, usiende mbali, we are coming back with more on the Supreme Court battle.
We welcome your feedback on our programming. For questions or comments, kindly get in touch with us via email info@kirktv.org, SMS 0111 220044, or call us on 0794 588 054.
Are you looking to grow your business? Kirk TV offers you a variety of advertising opportunities to suit your budget. Advertise with us today and reach your potential customers countrywide. For more information, email us on sales@kirktv.org or call 011 00 90647.
Get the very best Christian television here on Kirk TV.
It's such an honor and a privilege to have you on board.
And I'm delighted to bring us the Word of God.
Be nourished holistically with our program lineup from Matters Health.
The health of women, mothers and children is a very fundamental and key area to invest and focus in.
Faith.
Bless all of us, Lord. Bless the whole country of Kenya.
Family.
We say here in Transform Families, stable families for a
stable society. Educational.
To educate you, help you and learn new laws.
Kazi na mali.
Sisindisi.
It is junior talent in the program called Kirk Watoto.
As well as national issues.
In our part as a national government, we will continue to cooperate with like-minded stakeholders.
Experience it all here on Kirk TV.
Thank you so much for tuning in.
Celestine Kemunto. I'm taking a bachelor's in business information technology. I chose ZTech because first of all, ZTech has been ranked among the best in ICT, and I thought it will be best. It will be best for my course. First of all, we have there are so many ICT labs in ZTech University, which enables students, mostly those who are pursuing IT courses, to get to know more about their courses. Of which the labs have so many computers which have Ethernet, which is easier for them to browse. If I were given a chance to choose another university, I'll definitely choose ZTech University.
Apply today. ZTech University. Invent your future.
The great people on earth today are the people who pray. Not those who talk about prayer or those who explain about prayer, but those who take time and pray.
God answers prayers. Why? Because He hears. His ear is not deaf, so He hears our prayers.
Men and women who go before God, we should be men and women of godly standards.
Sure.
So we abide, so that we keep tapping from the source.
But as we pray, it is important to tell God that your will be done in this prayer that I'm praying, or about this prayer item that I'm praying about. Not as I will, yes, this is my will, but let your will be done.
In these changing times and seasons of uncertainty, who do you look up to?
God keeps His part. Calm rain, calm sunshine. God is still committed.
From one generation to another, and it's not like shifting shadows that He will change. But
join Reverend Elizabeth Kimani and Henry Kyra every Wednesday from 8 to 9 p.m. live on Kirk TV for Call Unto Me.
2021, He's still the same God, and He has not changed.
The Presbyterian Teachers College Rubate is now offering training and upgrading of P1 and ECDE certificates to diploma, and hereby invites all applicants for the September 2022 intake in the following teacher education programs: Diploma in Early Childhood Teacher Education, DECTE, required grade discipline in KCSE. Upgrade of P1 certificate to diploma, upgrade of early childhood teacher education ECDE to diploma. The reporting dates are as from 12 September to 12 October 2022, with the option of part-time classes available. For more information, please contact the principal through 0701 508 503 or their office line on 0720 312 021 and 0711 185 283.
My name is Moaz Jamal. I'm the Managing Director of Associated Motors Limited. Associated Motors introduced the Isuzu brand of commercial vehicles into Kenya a little over 55 years ago. We've been with Family Bank a little over a year now. We've had a very good experience. There's always interaction between ourselves and the team at Family Bank. They've worked with us very much as part of the AM family, as a partner. They've always wanted to understand our business. In many ways, the name of the bank reflects what they do.
Our customers are family, and we want you to know that you can always bank on family.
So catch Fit to Live every Monday through Friday at 6:30 a.m. and 4:30 p.m. Together, let's have fun, get fit, and stay healthy. My name is Aida Munzati. I'll be your host for this show. Remember, your health always matters.
Governance.
Thank you for sticking with us in Kirk in the morning. My name is still Vincent Kerosi. We are with a different guest in studio. We had to just left, but now we want to shift gears and talk about what is in the Supreme Court as far as the petition is concerned. We know that 9 petitions have been presented to the Supreme Court. 8 of them talking about the arguing and talking about how they feel or challenging, of course, the election results, and 1 challenging a person, and that is for Moses Kuria that was presented against Raila Amolo Odinga, the candidate of Azimio La Umoja. But before we talk about that, I have to introduce my guest in studio. This is Atieno Ogola. Atieno Ogola is an advocate with the High Court of Kenya, practicing election law, human rights, governance, and much more that, of course, she can tell us if I got that right.
Yes, thank you so much.
Did I limit you in what you practice?
No, of course, we also have other areas of practice,
yeah.
But during this election season, we've also done a few election matters, like before the IBC Dispute Resolution Committee in May to June, when we were doing some matters for aspirants, also during the nomination times for the parties. So, yes, those are some of the things we've done in elections, but we have general practice. So my law firm is MMA Law LLP, where I'm the managing partner. We are located at Upper Hill Gardens. And I'm glad to be on the show today. Thank
Karibu
you.
sana, karibu sana. Remember, you can weigh in into the conversation this morning by engaging us on our socials, Kirk TV Kenya on Facebook, Kirk TV _KE on Twitter, on Instagram as well as the SMS number that is always on your screen, or that I'll be able to read to you soon because it's quite a long one, so that you get to understand. But what we need to talk about this morning is the Supreme Court battle, because we understand that the election 2022 has been challenged in court, and this has been done by a couple of people. It's not just one person. We understand that people know about the Raila Odinga and Martha Karua petition, but who else has petitioned?
We've had various organizations also petition, like the Youth Advocacy Group. We've had also citizens petition in their own names. So, of course, it's going to be an interesting, let me say, court battle to see how the court will handle all these petitions, whether they'll decide to consolidate them, because the issues raised are largely the same. Okay, and also, of course, we never forget Mtata, who also has filed the same petition. So if you look at these petitions, they raise the same issues, but of course just divergent on maybe issues to do with evidence, but the issues and the...
We talked about Raila Odinga and Martha.
At that petition for Moses Kuria, of course he's challenging the conduct of Raila Odinga, and of course there are many allegations which are in that petition, which I would not like to talk about until they have been actually talked about in court. But that petition, of course, is challenging Raila as opposed to the other ones which are challenging the IBC as an institution and the commissioners. Okay, so and even Mrs. Kuria's petition has a lot of allegations that are very weighty, but of course if they're not substantiated by evidence, that cannot see the light of day. So I'd like to see how the court will treat that petition, whether it will consolidate it or strike it off or hear it on its own merits. Yes.
Yes, as you said, the burden of proof totally lies with the petitioner.
Yes.
So if Moses Kuria is able to prove that he has a case,
yes, of course, everyone has the right to a fair trial, you know, which is guaranteed under the Constitution. So if his case has merit, the judges will have to listen to it.
Now let's look at what happens in the Supreme Court once a petition has been presented. We know that August 22, this was on Monday, petitions were filed because this was the last day for any petitioner to file in the Supreme Court. And we know that these 9 were filed on Monday. Now, after filing, we understand that yesterday on Tuesday, this was now a day for the respondents to be served by the petitioner on that case. Then after that, what happens before now, we reach a verdict.
Okay, thank you for that. So if you look at the Supreme Court's rules of 2017, it clearly stipulates the procedure before the Supreme Court as regards the presidential elections. Okay, so once the petitioner has filed, of course, the respondents have been served. The respondents are also given time to file their response and also serve the petitioner the same. Okay, then there's going to be a pretrial conference where the judges will give directions as to how the matter will proceed, because you see, as we've said, there are 8 petitions, and you know the matter has to be determined within 14 days. You see, so the judges have to give a clear direction on how the matter is going to proceed in terms of who are going to present, whether the cases will be consolidated, maybe time allocation matters will be talked about, whether the proper pleadings have been filed, if there is need to amend. So the court gives proper directions. Then after that is when the hearing can commence. You see, so a pretrial conference is just mainly to guide the process so that there is not much confusion, especially in this matter where there are a lot of advocates involved, there are a lot of cases involved. So we will see whether some cases will be dismissed, others will be allowed to be consolidated, and then now how the matter will proceed. Of course, after the hearings, during the hearings is when the oral submissions are made, you know. That is, of course, each advocate from representing whichever parties, because you've seen in, like for example, in Mtata's petition, one of the presidential aspirants or candidates, Wajakoya, is mentioned as the interested party. So it begin to see how the court will also treat interested parties in these matters. Okay. So after the hearing, of course, then we go now to the judgment.
Of course, yeah. So on Monday, on Monday, August, no, it's on Tuesday next week, I think. That is when our pre-trial will take place. And then now on August 31st, the third parties, that's friends of court, an application filed and served. Friends of court, pia ni interest parties and friends of court. Can you get to understand the difference here?
So if you look at an interested party, it's someone who has a stake in the matter.
Yes,
and that's why you see, for example, in Okiya Mtata's petition, Raila is an interested party. All the other four presidential aspirants are interested parties, okay? And amicus, who is amicus curiae, the friend of the court, is someone who has some value that can bring to the court to help the court determine the matter.
And this can be anybody.
Yeah, can be anybody, but you must show that you have some knowledge or skill that is important to that case, which can help the court in or assist the court in determining that matter. Okay, so not anyone can just apply and be admitted. Some people we've seen have been denied that admission as amicus curiae, but in some cases some others are allowed because their experience or wealth of knowledge allows them to help the court to arrive at a decision which is favorable to the parties involved. Yes.
And this has to happen within 14 days of filing.
Yes, yes. All these things you see, because the position of a president is very important. You see, and of course now when there's a vacuum, there is that uncertainty in the country, as you've seen, you see. So there's need to restore the country back to its normal workings, and so that the country can move on. So that's why in election petition matters, the time is of the essence, and the time is very stringent to allow people to move on, to allow the government of the day to be formed, and we continue with nation building.
You know, the reason I'm asking that is because we saw a lorry of evidence, a lorry of boxes, you know, and those are volumes and volumes of material that needs to be read, needs to be flipped over for them to get the best out of it. How easy or difficult is this to happen?
So as we were preparing for the election petitions, of course also the bench, which are the judges, were equally preparing for the election petition. So there is a committee called the Judiciary Committee on Elections, okay? They had prepared beforehand, and this was expected because of course if you look at the previous two trends also, the type or the volume of evidence coming to court is enormous. So I'm sure the court has the capacity, the researchers. You see, there are usually researchers attached to the judges, even apart from just in these petitions. So of course they've had to hire more. They've had to equip the judiciary staff. So of course all these people will work hand in hand to ensure that the documents have been verified, what needs to be looked at has been looked at, and then a decision will be arrived at that shows that there has been consideration of all these matters. It's a well thought out decision, and all the evidence has been taken into account.
How many people would it take for them to go through those, you know, that voluminous evidence, and for how long, really? For a layman, I'm talking like a layman out there who just saw that counter drop all those boxes and asking, this has to be read and understood within 14 days.
I wouldn't like to estimate, but what I'd like to ensure the layman that enough human resource has been deployed, you know, to be able to just go through all that. Because you see, of course, the judges need to arrive at a decision, and the constitutional timelines have to be adhered to, you see. So whatever happens, we have to ensure that the evidence before court has been scrutinized, and the various parties are aware of the progress that the court is making. Okay? So one thing we'd like to ensure, rather to assure the laymen or the citizens in Kenya, that the judiciary has adequate staff to be able to take the matter and handle the evidence and all the matters that will be presented before court. Yes.
So we wait and see what happens. Now, I want us to look at these cases, all these petitions, especially we know the major petition here is Raila, Raila Odinga, Mother Karua versus the chairperson of the commission, and of course the commission itself, and the respondent, the second. Is it the first respondent who is the second respondent who is President-elect William Ruto? we might not be able to dig deeply into this because of just sub judice, but I want us to look at it from a point where we want to make people understand what is in this case and what is the probable results out of this. As an advocate of the court, you've gone through the Raila Odinga petition. What do you make of it?
Okay, first of all, if you look at the Raila Odinga petition, some of the issues raised there are very fundamental, because you see, when we talk about free and fair elections, or the principles of an electoral system embodied in Article 81 of the Constitution, one of them, of course, is to ensure that the election is held in a transparent manner and the results are verifiable and credible. Okay, so one thing that the petition is bringing out, that there is a questionable integrity of the results. Okay, and of course now that's why you've seen the various affidavits which have been sworn, which are having very weighty issues that the court has to consider. You know, I cannot talk about the contents of those affidavits. And also we look, we've seen that, of course, large lorry which deposited those large volumes and boxes of evidence. Then the other issue which, of course, Raila has in his petition raised is the issue to do with the attainment of the 50+1% constitutional threshold. You know, according to him, of course, the president-elect was announced by the ABC National Returning Officer, the chairperson Chebukati, did that the president-elect did not meet that threshold. So it will be very interesting to see the evidence produced, you know, to show and to substantiate that, let me say, that allegation, okay? Then if you've also looked at the petition, there are also a lot of ICT issues arising. Issues to do with hacking, the interference of data, unauthorized persons accessing the data, you see. So those are also very weighty issues, because then it shows us, is our system credible? Okay, is it, let me say, does it have the necessary security systems that are required, or as per the required standards? And of course, that will be very important to show, because you see, you need an ICT expert to be able to give evidence in support of that. An advocate can only go as far as the law, but of course we'll need experts. I think you saw also how mathematicians were brought to task to talk about the 0.01%. Okay, so there are a lot of important issues that have been raised, and also regarding now the person himself, Chebukati. You see, we have the Electoral Offences Act. There are various allegations, or let me say, raised in the Raila's petition that have attacked the conduct, okay, of the commissioners, and especially Chebukati. And you see, of course, if you look at the Electoral Offences Act, there are offences relating to voting, there's issues to do with bribery, and all these offences have specific punishments. And even the penalties, some of them include imprisonment. Okay? So we would be very keen to see how the court will deal with such kind of issues, because if you look at the IBC Act, of course, in Section 15, there is sort of an immunity to the commissioners, you know, while they are in the course of their duty, but they have to be undertaking these duties in good faith. Okay, so the petitioners have to show, was the chairperson and the commissioners undertaking their duties in good faith, because you see, of course, that's why the allegations are arising. Okay, and also we are seeing the issues also to do with the quorum of the commissioners.
Forward dissenting.
Yes, because you see, then was this an issue that required the unanimous decision of the commission? But also another key important thing that has arisen in that petition is the issue of the verifying and tallying of the results, because we are saying that in the petition, rather, it is being alleged that some of the results were not verified, you know. And then what does verification mean? Does the law clearly explain to us what verification means? Because you see, in the Maina Kiai case, which has been largely quoted, everyone is saying the
Maina Kiai case.
Yes, the Form 34A from the polling stations is final.
Yes.
You see, yes, we do not deny that, but how can we verify that these forms were authentic? Of course, there is the security features which would be visible when the forms were being brought to bombers physically. Okay, and if you look at also the Elections Act at Section 39, it says where there is a discrepancy between the Form 34, which has been uploaded digitally, and the physical one, it's the physical one which will take precedence. Okay, so I'd be very keen to see how the Supreme Court will handle all these complex issues, because some of these issues actually speak to the integrity of elections in Kenya. Because we have to understand, do our votes really count? If we find out that some of the allegations, especially in one of the affidavits in the Raila case, like for example the affidavits regarding how there was a, let me say, a sort of a group of computer specialists.
That's the affidavit by Theo Gidongo.
Yes, yes. So we'd like to see how all these issues will play in court, and that's why, of course, the judges are, let me say, being put to task to test the law and see whether these laws, because we're always talking about IBC law reforms. Are these laws serving us? Because then how come all these breaches happen, these security breaches, these breaches of the returning officers failing to do the right thing, you know, all those things that have been alleged. So we wait to see how the Supreme Court judges will handle all these issues, because they have to adjudicate on all these issues.
Yes, and if we look at the Standard this morning, in the cover page, they have written this: inside Raila's evidence, Raila, my case in numbers. Now, 140,028 votes missing, or unexplained number of votes. These votes, that's 140,028. They're either missing or they cannot be explained as to where they are. And of course, there is the 0.01%, where he says it's not about the percentage, but the number of votes it represents. Another issue he raises, the 49.999%, of course, and all that. The correct percentage of votes DP Ruto should have been assigned. Talking about maybe rounding off to the nearest 10, that could be the issue here. He's also raised another issue here, that 33,208 sample of voters in 8 counties not given 6 ballot papers. A case where maybe a voter went in and he was given just, say, he voted for the voted for the president, but maybe did not vote for the other positions. Another one here, which I want you to weigh in, is 27 constituencies whose votes were not tallied and announced at the time of official declaration.
Yes.
Yes, can we talk about this? Because we know it's true. It's true that 27 constituencies were not announced before the chairperson, that's the national returning officer, came to give the final result of the vote.
Yes.
How significant is this in terms of now laying out the number of votes that amounted to the final results, because we don't know what exactly is in these 27 constituencies.
Yes, and I'd like to speak about that, because that's a very important issue. Okay, if you look at Section 39 of the Elections Act, it clearly talks about how the IBC is supposed to announce the results. Now, when you look at this same Section 39, it talks about the national returning officer, who is the chairperson, announcing the presidential results. Now, there's a provision which says in that still same Section 39 that the chairperson of the IBC can announce results even though some of the results have not been received, if he has the let me say, the ability to prove, or rather the satisfaction that those results which have not been announced will not affect the final result.
Yes.
Now we have to, and I think now maybe Azimio has given evidence to show that maybe these 27 constituencies which were not announced would have had significant amount of votes that will actually affect that percentage. You see, because if, like for example, in Kiamtata's petition where he says that none of the parties attained the 50+1, if this significant amount of votes which were not announced, and also the ones which were unaccounted for, if they are to be actually, let me say, scrutinized, and everyone to be allocated the certain number of votes that were cast for each presidential candidate, then you'll actually see that there is a clear winner, you know. So that, let me say, that allegation by Azimio is a very important one, because then it will then guide the Supreme Court to arrive at the decision where they'll decide either to nullify the elections, you know, then, or to have the rerun, or maybe to order for the scrutiny of votes, you know, which can actually show that maybe there are discrepancies in certain areas. And actually now these 27 constituencies which were not announced, for them to actually, the IBC to actually now provide evidence and show what were the votes for each candidate in these 27 constituencies. So we are waiting to see, because actually you see we cannot be doing the same thing and expecting different results. You see, that's why people are losing faith in the institutions. Look at the millions of Kenyans who didn't vote. That was a clear indicator that some Kenyans are starting to lose faith in the system. Because you see, we have a body that's supposed to be independent and impartial. Actually, that this is part of the code of conduct of the IBC commissioners in the 4th schedule to the IBC Act. Okay, so they're supposed to conduct their affairs in a way that also exudes public confidence in them. I mean, how can you consistently, you know, be accused of having a sham elections? You see, there has to be a problem, and where is the problem? So we really need to look beyond this as a matter of Raila, as a matter of anyone, but see that our institutions created by the Constitution of Kenya 2010, which is largely celebrated around the world, that these institutions are working for us and that they are protected. Yes.
Another issue here, now at the nation, this morning, I've broken down a little bit of it. And another issue that an allegation, of course, by Raila Odinga in his petition is that votes were inflated. For example, he says that a question he asks, were William Ruto's votes topped up illegally with 217,631 votes in final declaration to enable him avoid a runoff election? If so, under whose orders? Of course, they're talking about the Form 34As. If you saw, he gave even, I think I have the daily, the standard. I've broken down counties where he says that figures were Raila names 4 counties where his votes were stolen and added in petition, added to Ruto in petition, sorry. And if I might just choose one, because he talked about 4 counties, that's Bomet, Kiambu, Nyeri, and Meru. But I just want to randomly pick out one of the polling stations where he has raised an issue, and this is in Bomet, Chepalungu Borut Primary School. Raila says that the physical copy of Form 34A indicates that Odinga Raila had 61, Ruto William had 109, Wahiga David had 0, Wajakoya had 1. And this totals up to 171 in that particular polling station. But in the Form 34A in the IBC portal, Odinga had 1 vote. Remember, the physical copy of Form 34A has 61. But in the form that is in the portal, Odinga has 1. Ruto has 169. Remember, he had 109 in the physical copy. And of course, the rest are not touched. So that totals up to 171, the figure, the total is okay. But what he has observed is that there were 60 votes deducted from him and added to Ruto. You know, this, if they are able to prove these allegations, how watertight is this evidence in terms of seeing them through the petition and maybe having their prayers, allowed? Yeah.
Yeah, you see, as I said earlier, the burden of proof is on the petitioners, okay? So everything that Raila has alleged in his petition, especially the issues to do with his votes being given to others, the issues to do with maybe the fake Form 34 is being uploaded in the system, the issues to do with the lack of the tallying and proper verification, all this, let me say, evidence is, if it's brought to light and it sees the light of day and it's credible evidence and admitted to court, and the court scrutinizes this evidence and finds it to actually be of the probative value, you know, then the court actually will decide on which is the best way to proceed with the matter. Because you see, one thing, the court, or a maxim which you say in law, that justice should not only be done, but also be seen to be done. Okay? So if we see that these evidences which have been produced actually are holding water, then the court, of course, will then arrive at a decision that will show that they have considered all the evidence and the material facts. So the only thing we can do is to just wait and see, and see how the court will handle all these matters. But of course, it's a good thing for the Azimio team if they've produced evidence that substantiates the allegations that they have made. Because you see, these allegations are very serious allegations, and if not handled in the proper way, can actually even create war in a country. You see, of which we do not want to our dear country, Kenya. You see, so we hope that the judges will be very meticulous in their analyzing of the facts and the evidence presented before them.
Actually, Raila also raised a point there and said that, outrightly, he said that the chairperson of the IEBC, the National Returning Officer, who is Wafula Chebukati, committed treason by, the conduct. Treason is, they say, is
a capital
offense, and
previously punishable by death.
Yeah. We don't know if it is punishable by death yet nowadays.
No, it's life
imprisonment. Yeah. This is, as you said, a very heavy allegation to the person of Wafula Chebukati as the chairperson of the commission. What are some of these things that people do, or like him as a commissioner and as a chairperson, you think he did that could amount to such, an offense like treason?
Okay, one thing we should understand, first of all, in our constitution, that the will of the people is supreme. Okay? And if we look at Article 38 of the Constitution, which talks about political rights guaranteed to every citizen of Kenya. Okay? And every citizen of Kenya is entitled to a free and fair election. Okay? There's also Article 35, which deals with access to information. Okay, and one of the things that we are seeing, if at all substantiated by the Raila petition, and also we saw what the four commissioners said, that at some point there was opaqueness. Okay, so we are seeing that the issues to do with the human rights accorded to every Kenyan, which is access to information, was infringed. Then the infringed maybe as per what the judges will say. Then the issues to do the political rights guaranteed were free and fair election. Okay. Then if you also look at the IBC Act, there are various functions of the commissioners. Also, because they are public officers, there is a Public Officers Ethics Act, which talks about the ethical standards required of a person like him who is in public office. Okay, and you see, for him, there is a greater burden, you see, that he has, because he is the one who declares who the president-elect is, okay? And if he does something that is totally seen to be in contravention to either the Constitution or the written laws that govern the whole process and govern the conduct of a commissioner or a person of his stature, that, you know, then he's actually acting in contravention of the law, you know, and he's committed an offense. So if you look at the petition itself, the petition lists various offenses under the Elections Offences Act that Chebukati is being found guilty of, or rather is being alleged to have committed, my pardon. Then there is also the Public Officers Ethics Act. We are seeing the petition has listed down the various contraventions that allegedly Chebukati actually contravened. So it will be very interesting, as I've said, to see how the court will handle this issue of treason, because you see then, is this issue of treason directly related to this matter, or is it an independent, you know, issue? Because you see then, treason is a criminal offense, okay? And how has let me say the petitioner proved that in his petition that treason has been committed, okay? So one thing we should take cognizance of is that, of course, there are various offenses which are allegedly to be have committed if they are substantiated, that is right. But the issue of treason, I think the court will have to express itself on that issue.
Yeah, and I know we're talking about this, and it looks like, you know, this petition of Raila Odinga is more weighty, and if I say it's inclined towards making sure that Wafula Chebukati, as the chairperson of the commission, takes responsibility. And if the court, you know, allows and gives a verdict that he committed such an offense, definitely will not be in office. He'll have to step aside and, you know, and be charged as such. What happens then going forward? And maybe it's a runoff, or they call for a rerun or a repeat of the election, or a fresh election, as such. What happens in such a case now that the chairperson will have been implicated? We have other dissenting commissioners in that commission. What will happen? How can we? What is the case scenario that is going to emanate out of this in leadership of the country going forward?
Okay, let me speak as to first the commission. Okay, you see, you remember there was a time when there was the vacuum in the commission. There were only 3 commissioners. Okay, if you look at the IBC Act, that it says in the certain section, I've forgotten the specific one, but it says that the commission is properly constituted despite having various vacuums within the commission. Okay, and in the instance where the chairperson is not able to attend to the duties, that's why there's the vice chairperson. Okay, so we'll have to see how the court will also pronounce itself on that, because if Chebukati is found guilty of these offenses, or if the court says that, for example, he's found liable, having to have as the chairperson not ensure that there was a free, fair and verifiable and credible elections, then the court might say, even in the case of a rerun, maybe he should not take part, because I think that's one of the prayers of Raila in his petition.
But will it still be properly constituted?
Yes, that's what I'm saying.
Have one commissioner there?
Yes, it will still be properly constituted. That's what I'm saying. The IBC Act expressly provides that despite of a vacuum in the commission is properly constituted. And that's why I'll refer you even to the BBI case, you see, or even previously when there was that discussion about whether the 3 commissioners being in the commission enables the commission to still
conduct even the by-elections.
Yes, yes, you see, so it was found to have been properly constituted. Okay, so the issue of Chebukati stepping aside will not necessarily affect to a larger extent the conduct of the commission, and that's why it will be very important to see what the Supreme Court states on that issue, because it will set a precedence, you know. So for future chairpersons of the commission, they'll have to know that as much as, yes, they have the sole responsibility to announce the president-elect. They also have the responsibility also to ensure that the election is carried out in a free, fair and credible manner.
Yeah.
And if they commit the elections offenses, they're equally liable.
Yeah.
You see, sometimes in Kenya people say justice is to the higher bidder, because we see someone who's maybe just done a petty offense being arrested, but the high net worth individuals who commit very heavy offenses in this country walk scot-free. So it will set a very important precedent that no one is above the law, that in Kenya we uphold the rule of law and constitutionalism, and that we are here to defend the Constitution. Yes, because you see, if we allow these things to continue, we'll fall into a state of anarchy.
Yeah.
You know, and anyone can be able to do anything, and today it might be you, tomorrow it is me. So we have to all collectively ensure that these institutions work for the benefit of the citizens.
The citizens. Even as we conclude, you talked about precedents, and you know, 2017 there was another petition by the same petitioner in court, and it created precedents to 2022. How do the two compare? 2017 now?
Actually, that's why people now, of course, are naming this Raila 3. You know, and if you look at the 2017 petition, almost similar issues were raised, especially now. One thing that is very common is the ICT issues. Is it that our systems are always prone to attacks? Is it that unauthorized people are always given access to these systems? You see, those were some of the issues raised in the 2017 petition and are also being raised now. Of course, the issue of let me say verifiability is also similar, because in some instances in 2017 we could not verify where the results had come from, how the tallying was done, and that's why there was that order by the court for the IBC to open the servers, which I don't think they ever did open, if I'm correct. I stand to be corrected. But
at least this time around they did not use servers. They said so.
Yes, but you see now, for me, the major issues I would point out that need to be worked on even moving forward is the ICT issues. We know, of course, technology cannot guarantee a free and fair elections, but the people manning this technology, can they be able to understand that they are held to a higher standard of scrutiny? And also, for this technology, can it be tested? Of course, there is a testing which is done before the elections, let me say a few weeks to the elections, but how tamper-proof is it? Okay? And also, one thing, of course, the petitions in 2017, apart from the Raila one, showed us that there are certain procedures that IBC has to adhere to. You know, we cannot, let me say, put the substance ahead of or rather, let me say, we cannot look at the results in its, let me say, in its entirety, or separate it from the process. So the process is also important. Yes, we have the results, but due process, was it followed? You see, that was an important feature of the 2017 case, because we say that what are the grounds for nullifying an election? That the law which relates to the election was not complied with, and that non-compliance actually caused the or could have altered the results. You see, so it is important to show, and I think which Raila's lawyers will show, that the IBC did not comply with the certain procedures, especially for verification and tallying and any other procedures that they will show. And therefore, this non-compliance with the law caused the results not to be, let me say, credible or verifiable. You see? Yeah. So those are the various, let me say, comparisons I could make. But the greatest of them all is from the Maina K case that everyone has been singing, that the Form 34A final one.
Yes.
You know? Yes.
Yes, I think this is a child that we're going to have all week through until we have a verdict on the petition laid in the Supreme Court. We understand there are 8 petitions, 9 to be precise, but 8 are correlating. One is an outsider, if I might call it, but 8 are related to the 2022 election results. And of course, this Raila Odinga, Mother Karua, there's activist Okia Umtata, we have activist Elef Khalifa, we have David Kario Kingari, Youth Advocacy Africa, Julia Nyokabi Chege, John Njorege Kamau, and presidential aspirant Ruben Kigame. The singer Ruben Kigame. All have petitioned differently, but some issues are relating, as advocate has said here, and that is why we wait for the pre-trial conference on 31st. I think it's happening on 30th of this month. We will get to understand how now these petitions are going to be looked at. Are they going to be amalgamated into one? Are they going to be consolidated? Are some of them going to be thrown out if they don't meet the threshold? Or how is it going to happen? But remember, all this must happen 14 days from the date of filing. That is from Monday this week. So the Supreme Court has until September 5th to give a verdict on that petition. So I think you need to have your eye quite open and following our bulletins and even our conversations like this for you to understand what it entails for these petitions to go through in the Supreme Court of Kenya. Remember, these sittings will be happening right for the House. So we will be here to make sure that you get the best of that. Thank you very much for coming and giving us those insights, Wakili.
Thank you.
I understand your schedule right now is very tight, but we want to appreciate you for having that time to come over and chat with us. We will invite you even more so that we get to understand more of this. And even after the verdict, what does it create precedence now for the next elections going forward? I'm interested to understand that. I love presidencies, and so I'm waiting to see. Now we refer to the Minor Kiai 2017. Now what will we refer to from this going forward? So that's very interesting, as you said. So we've been having a conversation on the Supreme Court battle with one Atieno Ogola. She is an advocate of the High Court of Kenya, practicing election law, human rights, governance, and so much more. She said, I want to say at this juncture, we want to call it a day. I'll see you again next time, God willing. But keep your eyes open, your ears open for this supreme battle, because we might be having something out of this going forward. My name is Vincent Kirosi. In place of, yes, I'm being told there is a clip that we play, but before that, I want to tell you that, on behalf of everyone who made this show a success, God bless you. See you once again. A repeat of yesternight's feature done by my colleague Chris Ambu on Inside the National Archives of Kenya. You need to watch that for your information. So I want to repeat, my name is Vincent Kirosi. See you again next week. Ciao.
It is one of the most popular buildings in the Central Business District. Though known to many, little is known about a building that carries the country's history. We have embarked on a heritage journey to uncover what is right inside the Kenya National Archives. When you step and get into the building, you are welcomed by an atmosphere of the true Africanism in what is reserved inside there. In this specific piece of the Kenya National Archive series, we paint a picture of what is inside the archive.
So Joseph Murumbi
This gallery is called Joseph Murumbi because it's named after him. You know very well he was, and initially when Kenya got independence, he was the first diplomatic officer, which means his work was to go and open Kenyan embassies around the world. That one easily translates to you that he was a well-traveled person. And because he was an avid collector of African heritage, he used that opportunity. Actually, it's a good example of a cabinet secretary who used his opportunity well to serve the society. So he collected these artifacts, and that's why they talk about African culture.
The Kenya National Archives is divided in different departments that all together preserve the country's rich history.
Our main work is to make sure we join the past, the current, and the future for the stability of the country and the future generations. For that reason, we have got other departments like repository, which is the granary where the information is kept. We have got another department that is called audiovisual. They know how to listen and also to see. AV department. If you want to hear the sounds of Tom Mboya and Jomo Kenyatta and their pictures in both electronic media and print media, you can visit that department there. We have got another department that is called the microfilm department. That is the department which gives archives opportunity now to keep them in their primary form the way they are collected, which means we change the format of the document so that they cannot be manipulated.
And as it may look from the view inside, the Kenya National Archives contains a catalogue of African heritage. Our handler, Evans Charles Okumu, who has worked at the Kenya National Archives for close to 12 years, takes us through the first bit of the heritage reserved.
This photograph you see goes in tandem with the active article that was written by Joseph Murumbi, his legacy. So he was a vice president. The photographs can see, like in that photograph is there as a minister for foreign affairs. You can see the vice president. You can see the second one is Murumbi and Jomo Kenyatta and Tom Mboya far and before he was assassinated in 1969. So this is the journey that he went through. But when he died, he never went back to India where his father used to come from. He was asked, do you want to be associated with your father or your mother? Then he said, I want to be the son of a woman.
The Murumbi Gallery is the highlight and the backbone of the National Archives, with all the ancient heritage reserved on the ground floor, while at the top carries the history of a nation that bled to its independence. Where standing here is the African weaponry corner, this one being the Ethiopian arts corner. But when you walk just a few meters now, you see the real Africanism and the Kenyan heritage told through the ancient weapons. For instance, this one is a Turkana weapon that was made from the shields of animal hide, including giraffe and buffalo, each one of them having a significant difference in the story that they are telling from the Kenyan community. And as Okumu tells us, everything here is arranged in order. The Kenyan community is carrying the rich history, as Okumu explains in our first visit.
This is Kamba's witch doctor's bag, which means when they say that they don't take somebody to a police station, they know that the police and the thief are friends, isn't it? You know the traditional padlock. If you have lived in a grass-thatched house, their doors are locked by this lock, which means you make a hole in the door and you put just a padlock like this, you enter like this.
We take hours and hours to go through the Murumbi Gallery and get a glimpse on the culture and the ancient ways of Kenyans as collected and reserved by the Kenya's first cabinet minister.
This is a stone from Kisii. It's called a Kisii soapstone. It originates from there. So this stone, a stone can also speak. The stone is speaking this way. This one talks about exactly what Kenya went through at the peak of independence. Eradication of poverty, eradication of illiteracy, eradication, because this is a newly born baby bird. If you look it from this other side, it's a newly born baby bird that is struggling with life. It's struggling to fly, it's struggling to walk.
On the next part of the Kenya National Archive series, we dig deep on the history of the building that was first the Bank of India headquarters, as well as the specific reservations kept at the National Archive. Watch out for our next part as we tell the memory of a nation. Chris Sambo for Kirk TV.
Cheche